Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, February 26th. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. Because it is Thursday, we are blessed, as always, by the presence of 24/7 Sports Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong, calling from balmy, sunny Indianapolis.
Good morning, Daniel. The sun has yet to come out. It's 8:30 in the morning. The cloud cover is thick, and I'm sure it's cold out there.
Have you hit 10 degrees yet?
Oh, hell. I think yesterday it got in the 20s. So we're
nice.
We're not as bad as a lot of other areas in the country. Indianapolis is, after having the worst winter that we've ever had since the 70s, so not we've ever had, but the worst winter we've had since the 70s. We've been spared other than some coldness. The roads have been pretty drivable, so knock on wood. I'm a guy, as long as the roads are good, I don't care how cold it gets.
Yeah, I guess it just, Indianapolis got a lot of pub for being cold in the sports world because everyone who was there for the combine complained about it so much. But we digress, as we are wont to do. Today we are going to talk about who Ohio State will have to fight for the hardest in the class of 2016 to get them into the folds. Steve and I have done some pregame and reviewed a list, reviewed the target list and such, and come up with a nice little group of players. For example, guys, uncommitted guys who aren't on this list. Nick Bosa would be my best example because I think everyone assumes, no offense to his enjoyment of the recruitment process, that Nick will end up in scarlet and gray. So first, Steve, let's start with the three in-state prospects we think they're going to have to fight the hardest for. Liam Eichenberg, Justin Lane, and Luke Farrell. You can take them in any order you choose.
Yeah, so those are three guys that are top 10 in the state guys, according to 24/7 Sports. Liam Eichenberg, I think that all our listeners could probably come on here and get pretty close to the same insight I'm about to drop, but nothing has changed. Notre Dame, Ohio State are believed to be the top two. I do know that Eichenberg is going to visit Notre Dame in April with his whole family. I think that right now Notre Dame would have to make up ground. The Buckeyes are my current 24/7 Sports crystal ball pick after talking to several people about Eichenberg and where they think the pulse of the situation is, and that hasn't changed. I ask people about Eichenberg weekly, and it still sounds like Ohio State. So we'll see what happens. He's obviously not ready to make a decision, but I like where Ohio State stands with the five-star offensive tackle from Cleveland St. Ignatius, which takes us into another Cleveland standout, Justin Lane from Cleveland Benedictine. Ohio State is absolutely near the top of his list, but I think people don't want to rule out Michigan State. They were the first to recruit him, first to offer him. They've done a fantastic job of recruiting him, so Michigan State is certainly right up there near the top for Justin. And then Penn State, Notre Dame, a couple other schools that will get an opportunity to continue to impress him as well. Luke Farrell's taking his time and going slow. He named Ohio State his leader during the summer at Friday Night Lights. There was no question Ohio State was a team to beat for the Perry Ohio standout. I still can't imagine him going anywhere other than Ohio State, but he's definitely going to be taking some more visits. He's been to Michigan State. He's been to Notre Dame. Bill Kurlick, Bucknuts Insider, had a story this morning about upcoming trips to Penn State and Boston College. And from my perspective, you see Ohio State, they have the commitment from Jake Hossman, and then they also have Kier Hawkins in the class, the big receiver. And so I'm not saying that Ohio State definitely has a spot for Luke, but I think that Luke's going to look around and see what's best for him. So those are the three in-state guys. I still think Ohio State has a great shot to land all three of them.
Yeah, okay, now that we've got that tackled, and I think it would be disappointing if Ohio State didn't land all three of them, let's head outside the state borders and talk about the longest kind of recruiting battles we see developing here. One name that comes to the top of the list, seems like we discuss a lot, they're very interested in, and a lot of people are, is Rashan Gary, the standout defensive lineman from up New Jersey. What's the latest?
Well, he's definitely going to go swing through SEC country. That's what's next on his mind. And talking to his mother a couple weeks ago, he wants to get down and see Ole Miss and Alabama and schools like that. So the SEC is definitely in the picture. Ohio State firmly in the mix for the nation's number 2 player overall, the top-ranked defensive tackle in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. Larry Johnson is the huge in here. He's been recruiting Rashan for the entire process. The family feels good about Larry Johnson and how he could develop as a young man, as a player, and then certainly Ohio State winning the national championship definitely did hurt their chances with Rashan Gary. So Ohio State, the list is long of schools that he is interested in, schools that have a shot of landing him. That list is definitely there's I would say at least 10 schools that I could definitely still see him choosing right now. So Ohio State is one of them, and that's going to be a battle till the end. But I like where Ohio State is in compared to some of those other schools because of Larry Johnson already earning the trust of the family, which is going to be so big for them.
And also, I hope people remember this, Larry Johnson made a living building Penn State off getting studs out of New Jersey and the Eastern Seaboard. You go back and look through Penn State's history, they crushed New Jersey. So Larry Johnson has deep, deep ties to that area. Next up on the list, it seems like every year now the Buckeyes are battling for a Washington Catholic Athletic Conference offensive lineman. There was Damian Prince, and that didn't work out. He stayed at Maryland. Isaiah Prince, that one did work out. This year the name is Juwan Williams out of Archbishop Curl. What's the latest on the big O-lineman?
Well, he's definitely taking his time, too. I think that you have 3 Big Ten schools that are in great position right now in Maryland, Penn State, and Ohio State, but he, too, is going to make the SEC rounds. Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, schools like that are also high on Juwan's list. Ohio State, he's been to campus, and no question that they're going to be a huge player for him for all the same reasons that they were for Isaiah Prince. I want to go back to Rashan. You got me thinking even more. People are probably going to wonder, well, didn't Michigan just hire his former head coach to be an off-field guy for them, and doesn't that help the Wolverines' chances? And it certainly doesn't hurt the Wolverines' chances, but I specifically asked Rashan Gary's mother about that right around signing day, because Tom Lemming even put out a tweet naming Michigan the leader for Rashan because of Coach Partridge going from Paramus to Michigan. But Rashan's mom, she told me that they were only at Paramus for a few months, so they only got a chance to know Coach Partridge for a few months. And even though they definitely really like him, the one thing they learned is to not pick a school for the coach because their high school coach has already left. So I don't have him by any stretch of the imagination a Michigan lock. I think Michigan will be in the mix too. But other people quickly jumped on that, Rashan Gary to Michigan deal because Coach Partridge went there, and I'm far away from that right now. I'm nowhere close to putting in a crystal ball on him.
How about Juwan Williams? You close to a crystal ball on that guy?
No, absolutely not. I feel good about the 3 Big Ten schools right now, but a long way to go. Lots of visits, relationships to be developed, but there's no question that he can see how how Ed Warner developed guys, and then you can point to a guy like Mick Marotti, because Juwan is a long way to go physically too. I mean, he is 6'7", got a lot of physical upside, and a guy like Mick Marotti could have a field day with that. And we've talked about it on a couple of these morning fives in the past, but Mick Marotti is like the wild or the secret weapon that Ohio State has that he doesn't get talked about enough for why their program is where it is. He's definitely a featured attraction when kids come in to visit, and his track record of developing guys. Juwan's going to need a guy like that wherever he goes, and Mick Marotti certainly is someone that can show him what he's been able to do in the past.
Another DMV football player, this one by way of Canada. He attended Episcopal, a boarding school in Alexandria, Virginia. Patrice Renee, defensive back. Where do you think the Buckeyes stand?
Top 100 corner from Canada. As you said, I think Ohio State's the team to beat right now. Penn State's certainly in the mix. He is making some serious rounds, taking a lot of visits. I do know in talking to the coach that kind of developed him in Canada and helped him get to Episcopal, I saw him at the Best of the Midwest on Monday, or last Monday, excuse me, and he told me that Ohio State was really disappointed that they didn't land Neville Gallimore out of Canada in the previous class who signed with Oklahoma, and that they really didn't want to miss out for a second straight year on a Canadian that they coveted, Patrice Renee and that Larry Johnson. And those guys told Patrice's coach from Canada to expect them to really be a presence for the entire process, and make it as difficult as possible for him to say no to Ohio State.
And for those who want even more Larry Johnson information, Episcopal is in Alexandria, Virginia, as is T.C. Williams High School. Larry Johnson, former head coach, T.C. Williams High School. So another Larry Johnson bonus. Okay, next up, heading up north, so Plymouth High School, big man Michael Jordan. I'll spare you the basketball jokes and just rather hear an update on his recruitment.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud now. He's moved up in our rankings. He is the number 5 player in Michigan, number 3 player in Michigan according to the 24/7 Sports composite. Was fantastic at Ohio State's Friday Night Lights, where he left the shoe with his Ohio State offer. This is absolutely an old-fashioned Michigan State, Notre Dame, Ohio State recruiting battle. Going to visit each places several times. The key here is going to be connecting with the offensive line coach, not necessarily in a way where the offensive line coach has to coddle you on the recruiting trail, but the family wants to feel good about who the position coach is going to be, and then that person's track record. And I mean, if you look at Michigan State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, those three obviously have strong track records with the way that their guys have developed and gone on to big things. And they're just now getting to know the new staff at Michigan. Took a visit there last week for the basketball game. I believe it was against Ohio State, as a matter of fact. But those 4 are in the mix. It'd be tough for me to choose which one is the team to beat right now. So my crystal ball, which originally was Michigan because they were first to offer under the old staff last summer in camp, I ended up having to flip mine to Foggy because I have no idea what he's going to do. But he was back at Ohio State in January, and I think he'll take at least another round of visits to each school before doing something.
All right, let's finish off with one more out-of-state prospect. Defensive back. Always seems like they're chasing DBs out of the Pennsylvania-Pittsburgh area. DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah, absolutely. Penn State's a 24/7 Sports crystal ball favorite. I do think Ohio State's strongly in the mix. Perhaps Notre Dame can make a run. But right now, I think that's a Penn State-Ohio State deal right now, and we'll see how that one plays out.
Of all the guys you just mentioned, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Gary, Williams, Renee, Jordan, and Hamlin. For our Bucknutters who have sat through this way more than 5 minutes, as it often is, who would you say is most likely to be a Buckeye?
I would say Renee. Renee's the easiest pick of that group, but I think Ohio State could get them all. A long way to signing day, but like we prefaced it all, they're going to have to battle for all these guys.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's just very interesting to see who they're putting their resources into. I thought it was very interesting that you mentioned Neville Gallimore, because they really did battle hard for Gallimore. He just came up short, which isn't the most common theme here under the Meyer regime. Steve, you are off to Las Vegas this weekend for plenty of time at the Crazy Horse and the Spearmint Rhino, correct?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh.
I land Friday evening, wake up Saturday, and it's the Pylon 7-on-7 National Tournament in Vegas. Going to be absolutely loaded with talent. I know there's going to be some Ohio State guys, Ohio State prospects on the field. I don't know who they are right this moment, but certainly there'll be some Ohio State targets. Some of the best players from throughout the nation will be competing.
So everyone, you have something to look forward to next Thursday. Highlights from Steve Wiltfong's trip to the on-field excitement in Las Vegas and stories from the champagne rooms.
Dan, let's close the show with the bang here. I think that Ohio State, they got, when I look at the target list, though, guys that they certainly got a really, really good shot at: Nick Bosa, Michael Bennett, Josh King, DeMario McCall, Brendan Ferns, Prince Sammons, Austin Robertson, Austin Mack. The list is long and talented of guys at Ohio State's in that top 1, 2, or 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you call avoiding commenting on the champagne room. Steve, have a safe trip. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
See you guys.